Sales Track Training Review. And first 6 lessons of Sales Track are our starting point, your 15-second commercial, your use of qualifiers and tie downs, your personal borrowed story, the litmus test, and setting the appointment in stone. And as we have said multiple times, this is your introduction. This is your first blush with your client. That's why we stress these first 6 lessons. If you're going to become an expert at anything, become an expert at having casual conversation about the product, being able to bring up the product in most environments, being able to introduce the product. If you're going to work towards being an expert on anything, I would work at that initially, being an expert on the introduction of the product, and then work from there. Each one of these points, as we've said before, do not have to be followed in order. But they should be hit upon in the process of setting up that first appointment with the client, verifying some information, making sure that they are truly interested and not wasting your time or wasting their time. And that's where these first 6 lessons really come in, is to help you qualify and identify your prospects as individuals either interested in the business, the product, or both, without having you spend a lot of time in doing that process. For Sales Track, your goals for your first appointment that we went over, and we're now coming back for our second appointment, is getting the prospects on the same page, getting the prospects saying yes, building rapport, and getting the credible information you need to actually run their numbers. Last week, we talked about some questions that you might encounter over your first appointment, and what I really would like to break down for you from that, and the big takeaway from last week for me would be, you haven't really built a value until you've shown them an analysis. And so their questions are going to be things like, how much does it cost, and how does it actually work, and how does it come together? I want you to get very familiar with that language of, we're going to show you how it works. I've got the information I need. I've gathered the information that I need in order to produce the analysis that we talked about. That's where this is really going to come together for you. As far as how much does it cost, I'm going to have a clear picture of that when I see how the program operates for you. Now, we talked last week that some people do a 1-appointment closing. They do the analysis and do the closing all in the same appointment. Myself, I prefer a 2-appointment closing, getting the analysis information first. And yes, it may seem a little unusual that I'm verifying right there in that first appointment that the information I have will run an analysis. I just don't want to overwhelm the client with information in that first appointment, and I want to make sure that I have everything that I need. So when I come back for that second appointment, I can say, okay, here's where we are, and this is what this will do for you. And in that second appointment, as we're going to see tonight, it has a sequence and a rhythm, just like a first appointment does as well. We're going to do second appointments, and in the second appointments, we're going to have the basics that we're going to go over this evening, and we're going to go a little bit deeper in the second appointment next week as far as what that truly looks like. Sales Track Review, never convince anyone this is a program for them. Present the information through Sales Track and use your sales tool and educate your client. Once you've done all you can do, the decision is up to them. We can lead and prompt, but we cannot force the issue. And at the end of the day, we don't want to use hard closing techniques. We want to be very open with our clients, very educational with our clients, and help our clients come to a place that they make a decision that they feel comfortable with. If I was going to describe your role in that decision-making process, it would be as being an advocate to your client. So for our Sales Track training for this week's second appointment basics for November 19, 2018, if you're going to be the closer, some things that you really need is good listening skills and patience, probing questions and calculated questions, and informed response, informed responses. See, when you're coming back for the second appointment, I want to set the stage for you here. This second appointment is where you're going to reveal the results. This second appointment is where you're going to have the client do what we say, feel the pain, so to speak, and review all of their information with them. You're going to take them back to the beginning. You're going to relive everything that you've been down the road with. You're going to use your qualifiers and your tie downs. This second appointment is where you are looking for your client to make a decision about the purchase of the program in this second appointment. Without a doubt, you have to have all decision makers at the table. They should have been in the first appointment with you, but without a doubt on the second appointment, you have to have all decision makers with you. You want to close this in front of them or online with them, as like Darlene closes the majority of her deals online through webinars. You want to make sure that you are geared and you are ready to go for this client. Something I'm very big on, we've heard in the sales arena for years, the whole idea of overcoming objections. I really like to get that language out. I know that in your mind, and if you've done it for a long time, you are overcoming the objection if you come to a resolution, but we want to resolve objection. With regards to objections, delays in the decision-making process, stay away from, taking it personally if the client needs to think about it or they want to discuss it or they have hard questions, believing you already know what they're going to say, so you kind of half listen to what they're saying when they have their objections, or getting frustrated in defending your position, overselling. This many times when a client is offering up an objection, they're just really telling you, you haven't given me enough information for me to make a buying decision. It may not even be an objection. Many times what we consider an objection may be nothing more than them just trying to get additional information and maybe having a little bit of skepticism about the process and how it comes together. So make sure that when you are listening to your client and you're trying to be this good listener, when they're objecting or they're having difficulties coming to a place of decision, that you take these 3 areas into consideration where your client is concerned. For one to effectively close the sale, one must be intent on serving their prospect and understanding the true meaning of their objections and concerns. This leads to our intent. This really speaks to why are we doing this for the client. If we've truly listened to the client, we've truly invested in them, we've created a relationship with this client, we have dug deep, we understand what they are trying to accomplish, then we have established that rapport with them, we have established that trust with them, and they are going to understand where our intent lies. Do understand that no is not personal. They're not saying no to you, no, I don't like you, or no to your presentation. They're saying no to the buying decision. No, not right now. No means you haven't given them enough information to make that buying decision. Talking before listening. This is something that many of us are very guilty of. And again, I'm just trying to set you up for the second appointment. These are all things that you need to be very aware of. Because you really need the client's buy-in at this point. You need them vocal. You need them expressing how confident it is they want to move forward or why they're being held up. So you have a chance at being able to move this sale forward. Many times when someone is objecting or raising concerns, we spend our time thinking of what we're going to say next without truly listening. This can be detrimental. You have to be engaged with your client. Active listening skills, looking at them, nodding. Don't be trying to prepare your argument while they're trying to give you the information you need. When you've sold a particular product for some time, you typically hear the same objections over and over again. Don't assume what this individual is going to say. We believe we already know what our prospect's going to say, but minor variation in objection or concern are true keys to moving forward. I'm giving you these as cautions because every person I've ever known in sales has done this before, thought they knew what the client was going to say, where the objection was headed, what was going on, and I'm sure they've destroyed sales in the process of just being off base and not giving that time. One of the things, just to give you an idea of how important it is to listen on, that I use this as what's called the misunderstanding. I don't understand my son, he won't listen to my advice. And he's speaking to another gentleman. The other gentleman comes back and says, because he won't listen to what you say, what you advise, you don't understand him. And the individual says, yes, exactly. He says, let me say that again, because he won't listen to what you say, what you advise, And the individual comes back and say, yes, that's what I said. Well, in order to understand someone, I was under the impression that you needed to listen. So think about what it is that you're really trying to achieve. Are you just trying to achieve the sale, or are you trying to develop a client for future business? Are you trying to develop a client for referrals that will give you other business? Are you truly trying to educate your client and move your client forward in a process that's going to be beneficial to them, that they would feel comfortable sharing with other individuals that they know? Defensive overselling is a second area where we get caught up. When confronted with an objection or a concern, avoid defensive or abrupt responses. When we feel a challenge to our credibility or the value of our product we offer, avoid launching into verbal assaults, including benefits and tie downs. Don't resort to this overselling. If when I say challenges to our credibility, that could be as much as, I found something on the internet that says that the program is a scam. Collect yourself. Get out on the internet. Read what's out there so you're prepared for those kind of questions, those kind of responses. People, for the most part, when it comes to information nowadays, are much more skeptical than I've ever seen them at any other time in history. And I really mean that. I am now 57 years of age, and I must tell you that I find, even in the days of recession in the 70s and mistrust and things were going on with Big Brother and all that, people are much more skeptical when it comes to purchasing, spending, buying, and they feel like they're much more educated because there's so much information out there. But in this particular arena, the information that's out there can be very confusing to a client. So it is part of your responsibility in presenting this product to be familiar with what's out there and help individuals navigate that information as well. Never acknowledging their objection or concern will take you and the sale way off track. So whether you're prepared to truly answer the question at that moment or not, you have to at least address their concern. And in context of that, the more polite, the more poised, the more professional that you can be when they're raising objections or concerns, the more like this is just matter of fact, this is just something that I do, that you can appear, the better it's going to be for you and for them in that sales process. In a situation where you're feeling confronted or you're feeling like you're losing control of the sale or you're getting off track, I want you to stop, I want you to think, and I want you to listen. Listen to what the client is truly saying. Are they? Now, I'm not saying that a client doesn't have the capacity to attack, but I've never had that occur to me. I think it has to go with how do you introduce the information, how are you proceeding through the conversation. Remember, with the client, you're here to advocate them. So whatever it is that they've said in the way of objection, use the idea of feel, felt, found, use those type of things, or I hear what you're saying, repeat it back to him. What I understand from that is, give them your interpretation. Is that what you meant? Make sure you're getting clarity. Make sure, let me make sure I understand what you're saying. I can relate to how that must make you feel. The prospect is just like you. They want to be understood, not just sold. This is very important, this screen right here. When a client is voicing objection or voicing, I don't quite understand how this comes together, or could you explain this again? They're looking for more information because they're interested. When the client is asking you some questions in this stage, this is a very good position to be in, but make sure that you're identifying the question. Make sure that you're reiterating that information to the client, and make sure that you're coming to a clear place of understanding so the client believes that you are trying to truly bring them up to speed on how the program is going to help them. When a prospect raises an initial objection, you should always agree and just move on. Acknowledgement of their concern or objection demonstrates that you actively listened, heard their objection, recognized its importance to them. What do we mean by agree and move on? Well, that was more than I was expecting. That was more than what I was prepared to pay. I appreciate your concern about the investment prospect. I don't think we're ready to make a decision right now. I know you want to make the right decision at the right time. I want you to understand in this arena, it's always important to move with the client. You have to be organic. You have to be in a position to allow this conversation to ebb and flow. Go back and review. People love to buy, but they hate being sold. They wouldn't have taken the time if they had zero interest in what you have. Go back to the beginning and review where you and the prospect have been together. And this is where I'm talking to you about, go over some of the conversational language that you had with them in the first appointment when you first met them. What were they talking about? What were some of their qualifiers and tie downs? How did all of this come together for them? This is where you want to make them feel the pain. This is where you're going to take them back. That first objection is usually a smoke screen and not the true objection. Using probing questions to draw out your prospect's true objection is where you're going to really find out what the client is looking for. Remind and question. When we went over your current situation, your goals, and what you said to gain by using the worth account, there's something about the program that you don't understand. Is there a particular goal or concern that we did not address? Be prepared to ask these questions with your client. Now, we're going to go over using the analysis as a closing tool. We're going to come back and we're going to review some of this information at a later date as well, in correlation with this. But I want you to be aware that this is all of the type of information you're going to have to draw on when you're doing that second appointment. It's imperative that you revisit your initial soft qualifying questions. This is not being pushy. This is smart interaction with your prospect. Be respectful, be patient, and above all, treat them like you would treat a friend. As we mentioned before, resolve, don't overcome. After all this, you may believe you've done the best job you can overcoming your prospect's objections or concerns, resolving them. Your goal should be to overcome, but to resolve. Remember, it is important what you think or feel, but how the prospect feels that really counts. Your feelings in this, how you move through the process, if you've done a lot of these, it's going to become repetitive. And it should be repetitive for you. It should be like riding a bike, getting in that arena, talking to individuals about this program and how this program comes together for individuals and comes together for us to help individuals make the best of their financial future. This second appointment is a big deal, and we are going to spend some time on different areas of this second appointment. Confirm, does this new information make you feel more comfortable about the cost? How does that sound to you? What does that address your concern completely? These are some good questions that you can ask your client moving through that. Get paid. This way the rubber hits the road. This is where we get paid or we don't. It doesn't matter how much effort you put into it, how diligent you were, how compassionate, empathetic, or serving you were. If you don't get paid, sorry to say, you wasted your time. Concentrate on building a relationship from the very beginning, from your initial introduction. This is where the closing starts. People don't care about what you show them until you show them that you care. When we move through a process with an individual, when we're trying to sell this program, I hope that everybody is getting the idea. This is much deeper than just trying to deliver the product. Always make sure that you and your prospect are on the same page. What the prospect does, how they respond, and how they act can be directed, but it can never be predetermined. You can only be responsible for what you do, what you say, and how you respond. Everything that you do, always be the best that you can do. Follow up, 24 hours, confirm all parties will be present, one or more parties involved. May try to miss the second appointment. This is very important. Typical behavior, leaving an out for themselves, not to have to make a final decision about purchasing or second appointment, leaving one or more persons out of the process of the decision doesn't have to be made at all. Remember that your follow-up is imperative, how you're building this relationship, how you're moving through this process. Control the sale. The follow-up on the second appointment was vital and ensure all parties are present. You may hear statements like, my husband, wife, significant other is very busy and wants me to gather the information and get back to them. My husband, wife, significant other has left me in charge. This is usually a smokescreen. Do your best to keep all parties at the table, especially in the second appointment. Minimize excuses, maximize results. Follow up, follow up, follow up. I cannot emphasize this enough. Don't be afraid to reschedule with your client. One of the biggest areas that you are going to deal with your client is you want to talk to your client about getting them to say yes in the very beginning of your process. We talked about having them feel the pain. We know this old adage about, getting somebody to say go repeatedly and then ask them what they do when they come to a red light, and they will say go. The majority of people, I think it's like 8 out of 10 people will say go when you say, what do you do when you come to a red light? Because they've just been saying it. They get used to it. As ridiculous as the exercise may sound, it's important that you do this with your client, and you do this with the analysis with your client. So review the analysis. So how do we get our prospects saying yes? Easy. Review the analysis with the client. Go back to the beginning. Upon arriving, making the appropriate small talk and start walking to where you first held the appointment. Try your best to have everyone sit where they were sitting originally, including yourself. Pull up your back office and start off with soft closing questions, tie downs, litmus tests. Yes, do it all again. Go through all of that information again with your client. See, this idea of taking them back on the journey, of taking them back through the process, making them feel the pain, review their balances with them, review their interest rates, review their situation. You want to put them in a position where they're ready to do something. Review the analysis, detailed, accurate information. The more information you have about the prospect, the more forthcoming the prospect will be, the stronger the setup for the closing will be. And what I mean by that is, did you ask all those probing questions while you were doing the analysis, all the questions that didn't have anything to do with the actual numbers, but like how long they've been there and why they don't escrow or why they do escrow, and if this was a refinance and that was the rate they got? Start off with the really simple questions to review. Like, before we get started, I want to make sure the information I gathered is still as accurate today as it was on our first meeting. If there are any changes, I can make quick adjustments right here. Is that okay with you? Always ask permission, never assume until they come to the final close. Take the time to make sure that everything is solid. You don't want to get in the middle of it and then have them come back and go, well, this changed. There are sequences, there are points that you need to hit along the way. Expect the unexpected. Make sure the back office is set up to display the analysis results. Practice this setup before you arrive. Always be expecting the unexpected. In other words, be prepared for your client. Have a printed version in case maybe you can't get internet. Maybe you have 2 printed versions in case you can't get internet when you get there. Maybe have a printed version of their breakdown of all of their expenses so you can review that if for some reason you can't. Be prepared. Simple questions first. And I know this sounds ridiculous, but spelling of their name, and their name with a K, and yeah, right, like I'm really going to do that. No, maybe you're not going to do it with their name because you know them, but make sure you do it. Start with the most competent thing. I mean, even with the address, that may not be the best thing because you made it to their house. But the idea is the name of the bank, and you're with Bank of America, and your balance is this, and your interest rate was this. Now, if I recall, you just refinanced 2 years ago. Is that correct? Do you remember how much you told me you paid in that refinance? Do you give her a call? This is where you're going to bring all of that information. You're going to bring all of your tie downs. You're going to bring all of your information that you have for your personally borrowed story, your tie downs, your qualifiers, everything you're going to bring to fruition through here. I promise if you do, you will have positive results. This cannot be ignored or brushed over. You are setting up your closing is what you do. Reinforce the yes as much as you can with phone numbers, with anything that you come up with. If they nod, say, I'm sorry I didn't hear you. Get them physically saying yes. Now, you don't want to be annoying with this. You don't want to be a pest, but, verify their email address. Just go over everything one more time. If you have gone over this information enough with them that you're confident all that's good, move right into the analysis and start asking them about their balances, start asking them about their payments, start asking them about what lenders they're with. Drop the yes for your questions after you get them saying yes. You don't have to keep prompting them, and your balance is yes, and your mortgage is yes. Eventually they'll just go, yep, that's right, yes, that's yes. You don't want your language to sound redundant or like you're stuck on something. More yeses than you need. If done properly, your analysis can supply you with well over 25 yeses in less than 15 minutes. Take your time. Review all the items, interest rates, balances, terms. Have fun counting in your head how many yeses you receive. Create customer relief. After this process, it's time to move through the actual analysis. You would proceed with a statement like, great, it looks like all the information is accurate. I spent a lot of time going over the numbers to ensure I wasn't missing anything, and I'm glad to inform you that you qualify for the Worth Account program. And this is where you would move them, into the analysis. You would start going through, here's the results of what we found. Everybody has a little bit different process, but the idea is that from that first appointment, you have set a standard that this is kind of my process. You're going to watch these videos, then we're going to have a first appointment where I'm going to collect information, gather what I need to see if you qualify for the program, and then we're going to have a second appointment. And in that second appointment, I'm going to have all the information I need. We're going to go over that information. We're going to go over how the program can actually work for you, what the program is going to cost. Everything along those lines will be in the second appointment. So do know the second appointment is a big deal. Here's another thing. If you're going to turn the sale over to the corporate office, please do not do the first appointment and then turn them over to us for the second appointment. We want to have that relationship with them where we are taking the numbers, where we're doing the analysis. That is part of your sales process. That is where you build rapport. That is where we will gain the trust of your client. I'm not saying if you've already tried to run the analysis and do all that and just fail miserably that maybe it's not worth a shot of trying to turn them over, but do be prepared that if my people run another analysis and close the deal, we are going to take our portion of the sales commission. So at this time, it's ready to ask them, are you ready to review results? Are you ready to start saving money? Are you ready to stop giving all that money back to the bank? Whatever their trigger was. Are you ready to see how we can help you get that money you need to take that vacation you haven't taken in the last 5 years? Let's get started. Let's jump into this. So what I do want to do in closing here, if you don't accept responsibility for your own actions, then you are forever chained to a position of defense. Tonight, I want everybody to own this. I want everybody to have a sense of accountability to the company, to the product, to your business. Get out there and make a difference this week. Get out there and talk to people this week and really make a concerted effort to see what you can do with this if you really concentrate all of your efforts. I am so excited about the program. I'm so excited about moving into 2019. I love this time of year, the holiday season. I wish everyone well over this time. I really wish that everyone finds that niche and that groove, that thing that makes them truly happy and brings joy to their lives. With that having been said, I want to go to Darlene real quick and just give her about a minute or two at max just to kind of speak to you for just a moment. Darlene, any comments about what we talked about? Just, or whatever, anything you'd like to say, just about a minute or two to the
right. Well, you covered a great portion. Was very well in depth, and with all the other things that we cover, and then you go into great detail. You just have to start applying it. Now is here. It's here, and that means that now we take that information and start using it. Don't be a secret agent. Go out and start applying this. We know that there are, sometimes in the back of your head you go, well, maybe, I don't know. Practice makes perfect. We're going to mess up, so maybe you get with a coach to begin with and listen of how it's done and make it happen. But it is listening to what your prospect is saying, and it's okay to not to feel unsure sometimes. Just do what you know. Do what you know. Be passionate about what you're doing. Take those action steps that you need to get to the next level. and it'll definitely blow your mind what you can accomplish by keep on pushing through. You can't do it if you say I can't do it. It just doesn't work that way. You gotta go forward and push. Take advantage of the holiday. People are home. Their families there. Contact some of those people you haven't contacted in a while, and go for it. So I think that you've covered such a great amount of information. We have a time of year where we're giving thanks and we're appreciative of our family and our friends and maybe those new friends as well that maybe have to go revisit. So, but give your head a chance to take a rest and regroup and put down a plan of what you want to do. If you say, I'm going to contact 5 people today, then contact 5 people today. If you say, I want to take advantage of getting new people started, take advantage of those programs. But whatever you put in your mind, do it. Don't wait, just do it. So, Mac, I think, like I said to you earlier, there was great information there. And we just need to know that action has to happen and you have to persist. Don't give up. That no, N-O, means K-N-O-W. I just don't know what I'm saying no to. So I look at it that way, and I always try to find another time to get back to that person. So, of course, I have a lot of stuff to share, but at this moment, I'll give it back to you, Mac.
All right. Sounds fantastic, Darlene. Always a pleasure. And Harry, thank you so much because I know you're there in the background as always. Love having you all on the call and love what you all do for us. So thank you so much. Hope you have, and since it will be Thanksgiving coming up, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family because I'm sure, we won't have a call before then. So just happy Thanksgiving to you all. I hope you truly enjoy and just have a great time.
Same to you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you all. All right. All right. Let's go over to Dr. Joan Hackenstad. And Dr. Joan, I'm sure you're gearing up for a wonderful Thanksgiving and don't know if you're staying there at home, but any comments about the presentation tonight or if you just want to let people know, happy Thanksgiving and holidays or whatever. But Dr. Joan, always a pleasure to have you on the call.
Thank you, Mac. Happy Thanksgiving. And Mac, you did an excellent job today. Excellent, excellent, excellent job today. Happy Thanksgiving to you, to Chelsea, to your family, to your kids, to everybody on the call. This is a time, we're in the holiday season. Can you believe the holidays are here? We're going to be around family. We're going to be out around friends. It's time to be prepared. It is not time to let your foot off the gas pedal. It's time to continue to move forward. As you're around friends, as you're around family, you're probably going to be coming around people you haven't seen in quite some time. Be prepared for the infamous questions of, hey, what have you been up to? Or the people that you meet at the parties, they're going to ask you, hey, what do you do for a living? Be prepared. Be prepared for those 6 steps to sales track so you can be successful. Now, again, tonight's training, Mac, seriously, you did an excellent job tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's important, in summary, that you do start with the rapport, that you go back to the relationship building. That part is absolutely imperative to make sure that they know you're not just there to sell them a product. You're there to help them make a good decision and show them that this is the best decision for them. You want to review the goals that they said was important to them. Get them back on the same page. Get them dreaming again. If you ask them, what would your life be like if you were debt-free? Ask them that question again. Ask them, hey, did you think of anything else you would do? Last time you mentioned that you would do this or that, you'd vacation, you'd whatever it may be. Did you add anything else to that bucket list? What else did you dream about over the past few days? So get them dreaming again, but definitely get them back on the same page. So sorry. Hate being sick. It is the season, though. So don't just jump into showing results either. You really need to lay the foundation. So review those goals, but also go over the detail of the information that they gave you. This is, as Max said, an excellent time to get them saying yes. That's absolutely critical. So slow down. Talk about their debt balances on every single debt that they have. Round the numbers for their debt, But when you get to the total amount of the balance that they owed, you want to slow it down very carefully and repeat every single number down to the penny. Read it slow, change your tone, pause, use a deeper voice. Make sure you have that eye contact because that's critical here. You want to lock in on their eyes. You want to gauge and read their response. And you want to bring up their goals and those hot spots so that they can remember how this is preventing them from reaching those goals. Just ending, I know we only have a minute or two, but just ending on resolving the objections. I love that term, resolving objections, as opposed to handling objections. I think that's fantastic. To me, objections are actually a really good thing. I know a lot of people get a little freaked out over it, but they're really telling you what's important to them. They're showing you that they're interested. They just really need to overcome or resolve these issues that are in their head. So truly listen to what they have to say. You want to ask probing questions. Make sure that you're getting to the core of the issue. What I like to do is a mirror effect. When you're mirroring them, you repeat back the last 3 to 5 words in their sentence, the 3 to 5 critical words in their sentence, and you do that in the form of a question so that they think, oh yeah, let me dig a little bit deeper for that. So handle it positively. Don't get defensive, just as Max said. That's absolutely critical. And this is where you're going to really use feel, felt, found. I understand how you feel. I felt the same way, and what I found was. And stories are going to be critical here. Emotions are very tied into these objections that they're giving, so you can use those emotions to your advantage by using stories to show them success and how others have overcome those objections, how they've resolved those issues and moved forward. The key, though, is to handle those objections early and quickly. They're really not hearing what you have to say. They're really focused on their concern until you have resolved that issue for them. So identify that there's an issue, identify that there's an objection early, and then resolve it as quickly as possible. But as Darlene said, and she's absolutely right, Mac has gone over so much tonight, and it's been absolutely amazing. He's done a great job. Knowing is truly not enough. We must apply. Being willing is not enough. We must do. We need to take action. The holidays are here. You'll see that if you're actually talking to the people that you're going to be around here soon, you're going to increase your sales. You're going to see that recruiting increases over the holidays tremendously, but you have to be willing to start that conversation that matters. Now is the time. The holidays are here. People are grateful for what they have. Now show them how to pay it off even quicker. Thank you, Mac, and happy Thanksgiving to you.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Tell Eric, as always, thank you. And for everybody on the call, and Dr. Jones, just for everything you do for us, and Darlene, everything you do for the company, we want to thank you so much, and just hope you have a wonderful time with your family over the holiday season. So thank you, Dr. Jones, so much for getting on the call and for always being there to help us out.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, this has been the Worth Unlimited Agent Update and Sales Track Training Call for Second Appointment Basics, November 19, 2018. Now, people, over the next couple of weeks, we are going to go into this a little bit deeper. We are going to talk about the Feel, Felt, Found and go deeper into all that. Tonight was just trying to give you a really strong overview of the information that's going to be involved in your second appointment. We're going to dive into this pretty deep because this is where we get into closing techniques and how do we use our tie downs and all of this type of information. So I do want to thank everybody for joining us, all the help we had from our team that helps me with these webinars, Darlene and Joan. And let's get out there and do it big. Let's get out there and do it right. But at the very least, let's get out there and do something right now. This is Max Saunders saying bye-bye for now.